Hi kids, welcome to part 2. Haven't done anything much off camera, so I'll show you where we're at here. I have been sanding on this a bit. Got a long way to go, obviously. Kind of just going with 150, trying to start, but it's really rough in spots, so we'll keep working on it. But I washed it and it cleaned up pretty nice. We'll, try to get it polished up when it's all said and done. Sorry, I got stuff everywhere. Put that away. I've been looking at the chassis a little bit here and testing the resistors, getting this ready to tear into. I use the multimeter to test the resistors. You can use an online calculator to find out the values of your resistors, and then you use your multimeter to read them and see where they're at, whether they're still good or not, or if they've drifted high, or in some cases even drifted low. So I'll test one and show you how this works. You set your meter to the right range depending on which resistor you're testing. This one goes anywhere, from 200 ohms up to 20 meg. So it's got a pretty full range. So like for example, if I want to test this 2.2 meg ohm resistor right here, which is the red, green, and a lot of these radios have these 2.2 meg ohm resistors in them. I will set this to the 20 meg setting because it's above 2 meg, and then I just take my probes. Let's see if I can get this. I just take my probes and touch each lead, and I'm getting a reading. Okay. That's about what I got the first time. 232, excuse me, I'm looking at it backwards. 232, 231. And it's supposed to be 2.2. So that's within the 20% range. So that one's good. Usually if they read normal or high, I don't worry about it. Testing them this way, I don't disconnect. A lot of people think you have to disconnect one side, disconnect one lead or the other, and then take a reading. But if they're reading high, I think that's still a good indicator. If they're reading low, it's a good idea to go ahead and disconnect one side and then get a more accurate reading. But I've tested all of these, and it looks like these two 470k ohm resistors in here that are yellow, violet, yellow. These two are the ones that are going to have to be replaced. There's one right there. Yellow, violet, yellow. Now the paper capacitors, there's only two of them, and they are both 0.047, which I have the modern replacements for right here, so that's no problem. When it comes to the electrolytics, one is an 80 at 150 volts, and the other is a 40 at 150 volts. So when it comes to the 80, I'm taking a 47 and a 33 and putting them in parallel. And that makes an 80. So that's a good replacement for the 80. These are 160 volt capacitors. So I'm replacing the 150 volt with 160 volts, a little bit of extra margin there just in case. But this makes a very good replacement. You can put these in series, which will add the two values together, or if you put them in parallel, you'll basically have the values and get a different result. So in this case, we want them in parallel, which basically is like you see them side by side. This would be in series, one after the other. You put the two together like this and wire the leads together, and that's parallel. Okay. So that'll be my 80. For my 40, I'm going to replace it with this, which is a 47. This happens to be a 250 volt capacitor, but that's what I happen to have handy, and it's perfectly fine. So we'll be doing that. That'll be the first thing we do, replace the electrolytics with the new ones, and then we can do the paper capacitors and a couple of resistors, and this thing probably should sing like a bird. So let's leave it there for now, but I'm going to continue this part 2, so don't go away. Stay tuned for the next segment. Well, I've had a look around and we're in luck. I do have a couple of 470 k ohm resistors. These are, I believe, 1 watt, judging by the size. I'm pretty sure that's what the package said. I've had these for quite a while, so it'll probably be a good idea to go ahead and use them. Let's take a look and see what these read. Since we'll be replacing the old ones are way off. Let's see, here's one. Oh, hang on, I gotta get my meter where you can see it. Sorry, there we go. A little bit all over the place. Let me get it. Okay. $576 on that one. And $593 on that one. They're supposed to be 470, so these are way out of tolerance. The new ones, let's see, they are, look at that, see, 469. See, these are good resistors. I always like these. I bought a lot of these quite a while ago, and I've been using them for a long time off and on. They're very good resistors. Little cement things almost. I'm not sure exactly what they're made of, but they look like they're made of cement. That one's a little bit higher, 477, but that's well within tolerance on these. These do have a gold stripe on them, which means you can only go up by 5%, but I think that should be fine. It's a lot better than, you know, 590, so I think we can live with it. So I should use them anyway. Like I said, I've had them a long time. They're obviously still good, but they're getting kind of old, so I should probably use them. So next what I'm going to do, so I have everything I need to work on this, because I don't have a ceramic, I don't have a capacitor tester, but all of these disc capacitors seem to be fine. Like I said, this radio was actually working pretty well before I tore into it. So the trouble areas are always the electrolytics and these old wax and paper things. So we're going to replace basically 4 capacitors and 2 resistors, and then we'll just test it and see how it does, but it probably will work very well. So what I want to do now is I want to disconnect the electrolytics. I'm going to leave the wires in place so I don't lose track, because I actually don't have a schematic for this. So we want to make sure we leave our wires in place so we know what goes where. And disconnect this. So just have, you know, it says right on it that the red one is the 80 and the blue one is the 40, and black, of course, is common negative. So what I want to do now is, I don't know, I could open this and stuff it and just see if it'll fit in there. And, you know, those might fit in there, but it's probably going to be kind of tight, so probably won't. I'll probably just install them in there as best I can, you know. So we'll do that first before we do anything else, and then we can start worrying about the 2 paper caps and the resistors. So stay tuned for that, please. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken my 3 capacitors, which are going to end up being basically 2 capacitors, and I've hot glued them together. You know, the old, hot glued them together. And I may even, once I get them in place here, I may hot glue them to the side of the chassis. These never get hot enough to melt the glue. I took the ring out of there, unsoldered it, you know, the ring that was holding the original in place, to get that out of the way and make a little bit more room. So what I have is I have all 3 leads, negative leads, together now. and those are going to be attached to the black wire, because like I said, it's a common negative for all, for both 80 and 40. And then on the other side, I have the two together to make the positive lead for the 80, and the one right here for the positive lead for the 40. There's the 80, there's the 40, so I'll be soldering those to the appropriate wires, and that will take care of the electrolytics. And a lot of times when I do these radios, I find that the electrolytics are among the most complicated, when you have to try and replace something like this with the modern equivalent. Sometimes space is a problem, and sometimes it's a lot involved with connecting these things up and getting them to getting all these leads soldered together. But this one's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'll attach the blue wire to this, and then add some heat shrink to protect it once that's all done, and do the same. Attach the red wire to this, and then the black wire to that, and it'll be done. So let me see if I can just do one real quick while we're still on camera, because I seldom do that, and it would be nice, I think, if I did it a little more often. So we'll take my piece of heat shrink, which is probably way too long, and we will slip that. You slip it way down out of the way so that the heat doesn't transfer to it before you want it to. And then we're just going to do this little, I think I'm going to cut it just a little bit shorter. And we're going to attach these two together. And I just kind of try to twist them together a bit without breaking that lead, because that can happen if you're not careful. But I'm just going to try to twist them together here a little bit. And let's see, like that. All right. Okay. Let's see if that won't work. Just let's see. Let's see what I want to do here. That's. I think I'll just basically J-hook them. That'll be the easiest thing to do. I'm not proud. Some people hate doing that. I don't. It doesn't bother me. Makes a good connection. Put a little solder on there. And let it cool for a second. Trim that little bit of excess that's coming off of that one so we can get the heat shrink back where we want it. I don't want it going inside our chassis. That's not a good thing. Anyway, let me crimp that. Alright, so now we bring the heat shrink up and over everything like that. And then you can take your soldering iron, but I like to just use a big lighter and just get in the neighborhood. Just get it close enough where it starts to heat it and shrink it, and it will tighten up on that wire a little bit. I got a little scorch there, but anyway, that's how you do that. Okay, so that's ready to go. Okay, see that now as I'm ready to go. All right, and so now we just do the same thing with the red wire. I'm gonna bend that back the way I had it before, like that, and maybe put a drop of glue on there to keep it going that direction. And then I will have both the positives going one way and the negative going the other way, which is the way the original was. You can see right there, there's the red and the blue on one end and the black on the other. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, is get the red and the blue going up and the black going down, and just kind of get everything out of the way. So anyway, that's how you do that. I'm going to do the other two, and then we'll come right back. Okay, I'll move this over a little bit where the lighting's a little better. You can see there I have all 3 wires attached, and I've glued the capacitors to the side of the chassis. So that's it for the electrolytics. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I can go ahead and test it before we do anything else, just to see, just to make sure it's still working. So hang on. Okay, I've got it set up for testing. I got the speaker hooked up, just kind of propped up in front of it here, and the back, the antenna connected with some test leads. I've got it plugged in. Got the knobs on it so I don't have to touch the metal chassis while it's live, because you shouldn't do that. And get this to prop up a little bit. That'll do. Alright, so nothing's been cleaned. The tubes and everything, I haven't cleaned them. I haven't even pulled them out of their sockets. So, you know, we're just testing it. Just want to make sure it's still working now that we've replaced the electrolytic. So let's turn it on and see if anything happens. Probably won't work very well with this fluorescent light on, but if I turn it off you won't be able to see anything. So we're just going to test it and then we'll take it from there. Let's give it a second. I see the tubes are glowing. That's a good sign.
Help support our local nonprofit Next Step Recycling. When you fundraise, you get entry into the race, an event shirt,
Yeah, that buzz is from the fluorescent light.
They don't need anybody. Honey, it's not natural.
It's time for Twilight Zone.
No, it's not.
No, that's not too bad. I'm looking at my monitor. That's not too bad.
Job. I'm not the only
It's enough light coming through the garage window.
Home with him.
Twilight Zone.
This was your brother's idea, wasn't it? Well, you go back and tell
It's got a
him
pretty
to
good hum,
mind
but we
his
still got a
own
couple of
business.
capacitors to replace. And, you know, we just want to clean everything up.
Now, did you see that hole from the tank? I mean, that hole was there for a split second.
There's some
And then
football
it was
for
a
you.
fountain of humanity all over Matt Breida.
What's the music? You like Boston? I don't. Come up. Find some country.
Those you can see the mountains and all the way to Malibu. Everyone's a star here in
There you go.
LA County. You ought to see the things that they do. All the cowboys down on the Sunset Strip, that they could be like you. Santa Monica Freeway.
Anyway, there you have it.
Here it is.
We're off to a good start.
Bill Hilbert.
From the beaches of Waikiki to the...
Sure. So Wilson threw for 3 score.
Anyway, enough. Successful test. So replacing the electrolytics worked well. Now we will do the, like I said, we will replace the 2 paper capacitors with these guys and those 2 out of tolerance resistors with these, and I think that's probably going to be it. You can see it's working pretty well as it is. So, you know, we'll give it, we'll clean it up, clean all the tubes and the tube sockets and everything, and try to give it a little bit of an adjustment, you know, adjust the cans if we have to, break out the signal generator and give it a little bit of an alignment, you know, if it needs it. It may not. This thing's pretty basic and seems to be working pretty well. I will clean up the tuning capacitor also. Let me unplug this before I touch it. Yeah, there's a couple of rubber goodies underneath the tuning capacitor. I may, actually there's 3, yeah. Probably going to see about replacing those. Well, they don't look too bad, but this thing, like I said, it's from 1957. It's getting kind of old, so we might want to do something about that. But anyway, there you go. I guess we'll call this part 2. Always nice to end on a positive note. So stay tuned for part 3. That'll be coming right up. We'll finish this part of it up, and then I guess the remainder will just be trying to do something about this. But we're making progress, and I appreciate you watching. So stay tuned for part 3, and thanks for watching.